The night I realized my marriage was over, not because of one cruel joke, but because I finally heard the truth behind every hurtful word he ever said. Have you ever sat in a room full of people who are supposed to love you, or at least respect you, listening to the sound of your own husband laughing at your deepest, most visceral insecurity, and realized that the silence from everyone else wasn't confusion, but a terrified, curdled pity? That particular brand of suffocating silence is something I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy, not even on him, yet it was the soundtrack to the night my life finally broke into two distinct pieces. The before, where I was a sleepwalker desperately trying to keep a nightmare at bay by following a set of impossible rules, and the after, where I woke up screaming, but finally, terrifyingly free. It wasn't that he hit me, because he never raised a hand, and if you looked at our bank accounts or our vacation photos, we were the envy of the neighborhood, the golden couple that everyone aspired to be, but the rot was inside the walls, a black mold that had been growing for a decade, invisible until the ceiling finally caved in on a Tuesday night at a steakhouse that smelled of truffle oil and expensive cologne. To truly understand why I stayed long enough to let it get to the point where he was mocking my miscarriage over appetizers, you have to understand the architecture of the trap he built, a trap so ornate and comfortable that for the first 3 years, I thought I was living in a palace, completely unaware that the walls were closing in by an inch every single day. We met when I was 24, a time when I was pliable and eager to be seen, still believing that intensity was the same thing as intimacy, and he was 30, a man who seemed to have the kind of gravitational pull that bent the world to his will, a man who walked into a room, and the energy shifted toward him, as if he were the sun, and we were all just cold planets waiting to be warmed. He was charming in that aggressive, sweeping way that feels like being chosen by a spotlight, and when that light was on me, I felt like the only person in the universe, unaware that a spotlight is also an interrogation lamp if you sit under it long enough, exposing every flaw, every pore, every hesitation. He moved us quickly through the milestones, a whirlwind of grand gestures and expensive dinners, where he would order for me because he knew what I liked better than I did, a habit I initially found romantic, a sign of how well he knew me, rather than the first subtle flex of control that it actually was. Looking back, the speed wasn't passion, it was a tactic, a calculated rush to lock down the asset before the cracks in his facade started to show, because he knew, consciously or not, that no one could sustain that level of performance forever. By the time we were engaged, 6 months after we met, I was isolated in a way I hadn't even noticed. I was spending all my time with his friends, his family, his colleagues, because my friends were immature or jealous of our happiness, and my family was too enmeshed.
Full story on channel link below.